We recently concluded an extremely busy week at the club.
Yes.
We had the Super Bowl in town. There were lots of folks coming through to play golf.
Yes.
And with no apologies, we had maybe the best weather week in January, February recorded history. One of the funny things that happened involved the legendary Chris Berman of ESPN.
Yeah.
Our buddy, Jim Rocchio, shout out Roke, happened to be playing behind him. And at the halfway house, Boomer was partaking in one of the things that our club is known for, which is the famous burger dog, which is exactly what it sounds like. A delicious burger in the form of a hot dog. And he's taking down this burger dog. And basically, Boomer was kind enough to do a mini recording for us shouting out the pod.
Yeah.
Which was great.
That was so cool.
And after the round, you and I happened to be in the bar when he was done.
Yep.
And so we had a chance to introduce ourselves and extend our thanks for doing such a cool thing for us.
If this podcast happens to make it to the ears of Chris Berman, Chris, thank you. That was so cool. That was
Very
super
cool.
nice of you. You are, sir, as nice in person as you appear to be on television, and we appreciate that. So we had an informal vote, and Jim Rocchio was named Weekday Golf Podcast Fan of the Week.
Unanimous vote.
Well, he achieved a simple majority of 50.01% or greater.
Which happened to be unanimous.
So he sent us a text when we let him know of this prestigious honor. And he said, Berman was great. The best part was that when I asked him to do the video, he said, yeah, sure, but let me finish this burger dog. He crushed a third of a burger dog with the works, stood up and said, I got this. He then said to me with a smile, I can't play golf, but I know how to do that.
What a pro.
I was accused by certain friends and listeners of using AI to create the Boomer video. And my response to that was, just take a look at the little dab of mayonnaise that spilled onto his shirt. I couldn't have made that up.
Yeah.
So that was really cool.
That was phenomenal.
I was exhausted. I played 5 rounds of golf last week, and I'm not saying that for anyone's pity. Yeah, Oliver's playing the world's tiniest violin for me right now. So I was wiped out, man. After 5 days in a row of playing golf, I was toast. We played in a charity scramble on Tuesday where we played 12 holes in 4.5 hours.
That's your nightmare.
It's totally my nightmare. We walked off the course after the hole closest to the parking lot.
We're sitting here now the day after the Super Bowl. Not the most exciting of games, but what a great week we had here in the Bay.
It was fun.
All right. Well, we are excited to welcome our friend Josh Zander. Josh, welcome to Weekday Golf.
Thanks for having me, guys. Pleasure to be here.
We know Josh as a friend, more recently a golfing partner, which has been incredible, a dad. Our kids happen to go to the same high school. I also want to share a little bit about Josh's illustrious golf background.
Would you describe your golf background as illustrious?
It's very kind of you. Yes. There's a lot of background. This year will be my 50th year involved in golf.
Oh, wow.
So I started when I was 8 years old, and I'm almost 58. So this is my 50th year on my journey. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Caracas, Venezuela.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you can't tell by the accent.
No, no. It's less Venezuelan than I would have guessed.
Yeah, my parents lived there for 37 years, so I was born and raised in Venezuela, yeah.
Maybe you told me this when we were playing golf. Why Venezuela?
My dad was just working for an American company down there, then went into his own business, and so kept him there 37 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome from Venezuela.
Thank you.
You are welcome here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I've been here a while. Hopefully I'll stay a little bit longer.
Well, 50 years around the game of golf, over 30 years as a Class A PGA teaching professional. Now I'm going to embarrass you a little bit. Named Golf Digest's #1 instructor in the Bay Area, top 100 instructor per Golf Magazine for basically the last 15 years. Stanford golf alum, professional player, 1992 U.S. Open participant at Pebble Beach. Am I missing anything?
There's probably more stuff, but that's plenty. Let's get to the good stuff.
But you made the transition to teaching golf, which you've been doing out of Stanford for a while now.
Yeah, I transitioned to teaching. It was sort of like a little side hustle because I was working for a startup at the time, and we ran out of money. And I'm like, well, I got to pay rent, so I think I'll teach a little golf on the side. And one of the women on the Stanford women's team was working for Hank Haney at the time. She's like, well, why don't you come down to the Hank Haney Golf Instruction Ranch in McKinney, Texas, and meet Hank and see if you want to actually get involved. And I did, and he hired me, and he had a place in Marin at the time at McInnes Park. And that was my first teaching job. So that was 1994. That's
Wow.
where it all started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning. How did you get into golf in the first place 50 years ago?
My parents started me in tennis, and then one day I just went to the golf course with my dad, and I said, bye, tennis. This is for me. So there was an amazing coach at the facility that I was at. The place was called Lagunita Country Club in Caracas. And there was this Cuban guy who was a caddy, worked his way up, became the head professional, and he was my coach. And I'd have my weekly lesson, and his name was Julian Fernandez, passed away a few years ago. But what an inspiring guy. He used to call me campeón, which means champ in Spanish. And it was an amazing junior program, a lot of really good players. And so basically my parents would drop me off in the morning and pick me up kicking and screaming to get off the golf course, 6, 7 o'clock at night and playing all day long, as many holes as I could. We had a little par 3 course that was part of the facility. So all the kids would go up there and we just make up holes, play cross country golf, chip, putt, bet. It was just absolute just joy and fun. That's how it all got started.
What did you love about it versus tennis if they were trying to get you to be a tennis player?
I don't know if they were trying to get me to be a tennis player. It's just like, well, we're going to go up to the club and take a tennis lesson. And it's just like, when I got to the golf course, it was just like, this is so cool. I don't even know if I can tell you the exact thing, but it was just, whether it was like hit the ball as far as you could or just be creative around the greens. There's just like, there's so much going on, and a great time with my dad because he was a golfer and I would caddy for him, and he made me feel like I paid for my own lessons because he's like, every time you caddy for me, I'm going to buy you a lesson with the pro. So it made me feel like I was part of the process. And,
I like that. That's a good idea. I'm going to take, can I
you can
take
steal
that one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, that was a time with my dad. Played a lot of golf with my dad. Still, he's 92. Still get a chance to play with him. It was just pure fun. And then I just started competing, and then the competition was intoxicating. So I would play in, the local tournaments. I was the national champion as an under 14 national champion, under 18 national champion, represented my club in national tournaments, and just loved every minute of it. The friends I made, the competitors, there was a lot of, it wasn't a big country, but a lot of really good junior golfers. And so we would just have at it. And I loved not only the game, but I loved the competition. And it was at a time when golf wasn't cool, right? I mean, you'd walk around school like, golf, come on, it's an old man sport, right? And, we're talking about 1976 is when I first started. In 1974, the World Cup was at my home course. Hale Irwin and Lee Trevino represented. Back then, I think they had the U.S. Open champion and the PGA champion, if it was American, that they would represent, the U.S. in the World Cup. So
That's not still a thing, is it?
it's kind of died a while ago.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where it was a point of pride to represent Venezuela in the World Cup. You were one of the top 2 players in the country, and then you got a chance to play against the Lee Trevinos and the Hale Irwins of the world. And I remember my parents took Hale Irwin out for dinner one night, and he gave me a divot repair tool. And I mean, that was even before I started actually playing. But just seeing all the flags from all the countries represented, and just the scoreboard, and just like everything about it was just so cool. I wanted to be part of that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Super fun.
And so that ultimately led you to Stanford.
Ultimately led me to play golf at Stanford. I went to a boarding school in Connecticut. The high school in Venezuela wasn't great, so most kids who were good academically would go find a prep school, basically. So I went to a place called Taft, and then I realized that I only got to play golf for part of the year, and the weather was not very good most of the year. And so when I started looking at colleges, I'm like, I grew up in the tropics, and then going from the tropics to New England, it was mud. We had a point where you'd have to agree with your playing partner or your opponent when you're playing high school golf where your ball landed, because it would literally just bury in the ground. You're like, okay, it was kind of around here. And like, this is not where I want to be spending my time.
Yeah.
No offense to Northeastern golf, but it's not all year round like it was for me in Venezuela. So I wanted to go to a place two of my top choices were Duke and Stanford. And when I got that letter, I was like, okay, I'm going here. And my dad's from the Bay Area, so I had a lot of relatives. So it was just a natural place for me to go. And I basically haven't left, with the exception of a couple of years in a job in New Jersey for Golf Digest. Early in my career, I've been out here.
My home state.
Where did your dad grow up?
My dad was he was born in Oakland, grew up in San Leandro.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Cal guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
go Bears.
Yeah, go Bears for him.
Go. Okay.
I'm a neutral party here.
You're neutral, okay. Are you a Bear?
I'm a California.
Oh, there you go.
Bear.
There you go. We got a lot of people in our family who went to Cal.
I'm married to Stanford Cardinal.
Okay, well, there you go.
So I have a love-hate
Yes,
kind of thing.
I hear you.
Big game is the one day that we it's
Agree
hard
to
to
disagree.
We used to try to sit together, and then it just got too hard.
We finally got you this year. It's been a while. Cal has been on a roll. We finally turned it around this year, so that was kind of fun.
You know, we don't need to dive too deep into the history of the big game, but I was a freshman in 1994. We won that year, and then we lost like
A whole
7
bunch.
in a row
Yeah.
or something
Yeah.
like that. Then we won a bunch in a row, and then we lost a whole bunch in a row. And it's a fun. I mean,
It's a fun rivalry.
yeah. I'm sorry.
I'm really happy for you guys.
I'm sorry that you don't have anything like that, Oliver.
Josh, given your success as a junior,
Mhm.
how were you thinking about golf? Was it go pro? Was that a goal?
It was
or-
never my intention to turn professional. It was just something I loved to do. And then actually after graduating from Stanford, I was offered a job, which I accepted. And I said to my future employer, I'd like to just go home to Venezuela for a couple months and just before I enter the real world. And then I just played golf every day, and it seemed like I would shoot between 65 and 70 every day. And one day I looked at my dad, and he kind of looked back at me. He goes, if you want to try, your uncle and I will support you. So I called my future employer and said, I am no longer going to be going to work for you. And I literally turned pro and started playing the Golden State Tour here in California. I had an aunt who lived in the area, so she's an empty nester with a bunch of extra rooms in her house, and I wasn't around much anyway, so I stayed there. I played in Stanford, was very generous and let me play and practice there. So that was where I was stationed. I took lessons from Rick Rhodes, who used to be the head pro at San Francisco Golf Club.
Yeah. Remember Curtis?
Curtis, yeah.
And Kevin. Kevin is the coach at my alma mater now.
Yeah. Kevin used to, he was one of my counselors when I ran the Nike camps.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, I have a nice relationship with the whole Rhodes family. They're a great family. And Rick really helped me a lot with my game. And so, yeah, I played on the Golden State Tour and then also played on the South American Tour, which was natural for me. It was a kind of a winter tour, so the weather was better. So, all over South America, I had some good success down there. Played in Asia. And then that was 92. I played in Asia. Played in the Open, U.S. Open in 92 at Pebble. Qualified for that right here at Lake Merced. That was the sectional. Peninsula was the first stop, made it through there, and then made it through right on the number at Lake Merced. And it was one of the grindiest rounds. So it was 36 holes, and I ground out a 69 in the really cold, foggy, Lake Merced weather when everybody was getting tired, and I worked my way up the leaderboard and ground out a 69 with 15 pars and 3 birdies, and it's one of the most proud rounds I've ever had, and I got rewarded by getting to play in the Open. And that story was, for me, a dream come true. Just to kind of put in context, so when I was applying to Stanford, one of the questions on the application was, if you could spend a day with anybody, who would it be and what would you do? And I said, well, Tom Watson's my hero. I would love to play a round of golf with Tom Watson at Pebble Beach. Well, fast forward a few years, 1992, I run into Sandy Tatum, the former United States Golf Association president, and he was a Stanford alum, and we had played in some alumni events, and I ran into him, and I said, hey, just qualified for the Open. Do you think Tom, who's a good friend of his, would play a practice round with me? And he says, well, there's only one way to find out. I'll call him. And the next day I got a call from Tom's agent saying, be at the driving range at 8 o'clock on Monday morning of U.S. Open week. And so there I was at 8 o'clock with my caddy, who was Don Christensen, who was one of my teammates at Stanford. He was nice enough to loop for me. And we went over and said hi to Tom. And Tom looked over at Freddie Couples and said, Freddie, you ready to go? Who had just won the Masters and was the number 1 player in the world. And
Wow.
Don and I looked at each other like, oh my God, how cool is this?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so we had a awesome day with two just amazing people, with Freddie and Tom. And Matt Gogol was actually, who you may know, who also played the tour for a while. He was even younger than me at the time. I think I was 23, and he was like 18 or 19 playing at University of Kansas, and he was our fourth. And we had a blast, and Tom was helping me understand how to play the golf course, and Freddie was like talking about the Seattle Mariners, and
That's interesting. Yeah,
it was a super fun time, and it was a magical week for me for sure.
yeah. Because I was gonna ask, you're probably like kid in a candy store at that situation, and it's like, how do you approach that round? Like, I'm not going to speak until spoken to, like.
Oh, that round, I was trying to be the biggest sponge I could be.
Yeah.
I mean, the wisdom coming from Tom and just watching how they go about, practicing and doing a practice round. So it's just, for me, it was an amazing education. So I was lapping it up.
Can you recall any tidbits that you still remember today?
Well, I do remember asking Tom if I could take a picture of him hitting the chip shot from the left
Right.
side of 17,
17.
and he goes, "Nope, that was just then. That's not to be repeated."
Yeah.
And so I said, "Okay, respectfully, I understand."
Smart.
And then I went over and hit that thing about 5 times.
Yeah. If I can go back a little bit to, the Golden State Tour and Asia, what was that life like?
And sorry, I don't know what the Golden State Tour is or was.
It's just a mini tour in California.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically like you play for your own money. There's a guy who organizes it. Everybody throws in a few $100, and then you get paid out. And yeah,
Got it.
That's what mini tours are.
Okay. And so where did that take you?
All over California, like up and down I-5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was hoping for more from your answer, personally, but not that there was more to give.
The Golden State. Are we still on?
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So the Golden State Tour is just, it's, I don't know what form of it exists now, but basically you need a place to sharpen your teeth, and there's good players on it. Jeff Breho, who played the tour for a while, who's a local guy here, he was one of the better players on there. There are some guys who are really good players, and basically mini tour golf, you stay at the Motel 6, you try to save as much money as you can. You're out of your car, you play practice rounds, you give it your best shot. You're basically playing for the money, because you don't have a whole lot of sponsorships. You're playing for your own money, just like organized gambling, basically. Mm-hmm. But it's a great way to learn how to be a professional golfer, learn how to be on the road, learn how to organize your time, your practice time, how to stay fit while you're on the road. I mean, you learn a lot of skills. The thing that wasn't great about it, that I enjoyed about going to other tours, was it was usually like, it's a 2-day tournament, it's a 3-day tournament, it's a 1-day tournament. It's not 4 days, right? 4 days is real professional golf. But when you went on the South American tour, it was bigger tournaments, more international field, 4-day tournaments, 2-day cut. You could figure out, they call it moving day for a reason, right? But Friday's kind of like survival day, right? You got to figure out, like, what do I have to do to be able to play on the weekend, right? Whereas if you play a Golden State Tour event, it's like it's a 2-day event. There's no cut. But if you go out and shoot a 75 on the first day, and you're like, well, I need 68 to be around for the weekend, that's a mindset that you have to learn. I remember when I played the South American Tour 91, I was pretty much right in the hunt in 3 days, and my fourth round scoring average was never as good as my first 3 days. And then I look back on it like, well, I didn't have that preparation. I didn't really know how to figure out how to do it for 4 days.
Is that just reps?
I think it's reps, it's stamina, it's mindset. There's a whole bunch that goes into it. Now that I'm on the other side, as far as like coaching the next generation of players, there's so much more that I would have loved to have been taught and prepared, that I just sort of figured out on my own, and just by watching others and going on these different tours. But yeah, the Golden State Tour was good for what it was, but it wasn't really the best preparation. You really should. That's why I would tell people who did after me, like, go abroad, go play in Asia, go play South America, go play in Australia, go play South Africa. Yeah. And that's where you could really learn what it took to have a career, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, when you're at that stage where you're in this transitional phase, how did that impact your love of the game?
It's interesting. When I was playing, it almost felt to me like I loved the competition, I thought, more than I loved the game. I loved to practice, because I knew that practice was going to show up on the golf course, and that was going to show up in my scoring average. And I took stats way before it was cool to take stats, right? It was all in a notebook with a pencil and paper. And I'm like, okay, this is where I needed a little bit of work. Let me go see Rick at San Francisco and have him help me with this part of my game. And then I would do the stats for the next 10 rounds and see how I would improve. And then I would see that in my score. And it was like, I had this, for better or for worse, I had this concept that if I could shoot 468s and shoot 60 under par, I could win anywhere in the world. Because I don't know, maybe I got to do a little better than that now. But back then it's like, you shoot 60 under par, you're about where you need to be to win. And then I was like, I could see the anatomy of a 68 when I did my stats. It was tangible. And I'm like, now how can I practice in order to be able to shoot that kind of number, right? I had some help with the mental side of the game by Chuck Hogan, who was a forward thinker. So that definitely helped me so I could get out of my own way and really perform. So it was definitely, something where I wish I would have had more coaching. I don't think it was available at the time to be able to help me navigate all this, but I did learn just by doing a lot, which is, one of the best ways to learn and fail and adjust and experience adjust until you keep getting better at it.
The 468s kind of reminds me of Michael Jordan used to say, someone used to be like, oh, how do you make sure you win the NBA scoring average every year? And he's like, oh, simple. 8, 8, 8, 8. I just need 8 points a quarter.
8 points a quarter.
Easy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll do it. 32 a game.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
You started the show by talking about teaching began kind of as a side gig. Was it a quick, aha, this is what I want to do?
Yeah, I needed to make money.
Yeah.
So it was an option. I had no idea what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I could hit the golf ball. I should be issuing refunds to those people because, I was doing my best to help, but I didn't know if I was helping. There's an instructor named Henry Brunton who's used to be the national team coach for Canada, and we were at this seminar, and he was giving a talk, and one of the guys in the seminar goes, "Oh no, I'm in trouble." And he goes, well, "What do you mean you're in trouble?" He goes, "Oh, what you just said is so much better than what I do. What am I going to do when I go back home and I change what I do?" He said, "Tell your students you have the ability to get better as a coach, or you can get better as a coach." And so I've always thought that was an interesting way of thinking about it. It says we're always growing, we're always trying to get better. And so I should be better tomorrow than I am today.
Yeah.
Right? If not, I'm going the wrong direction. Right? It's like Kyle Shanahan says, you're either getting worse or you're getting better. There's no staying in the same place, right?
I've heard it said that you're either progressing or regressing.
Yeah.
There's no gress. You
There's
can't gress.
Yeah,
No
I like that.
gressing.
I might steal that from you. To answer your question, I enjoyed it right away. I got to be on the golf course. I got to be with people. I got to try to help. I just wasn't very effective when I started. And I think that's the case with almost everybody now.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And you're just trying to do your best. Every day I'm just trying to do my best.
Was there a thing or here or there where you kind of felt like, oh, okay, I kind of unlocked this thing?
Oh my God. Yes. I don't know if you could ever say you unlocked it, because every year I feel like I'm getting better, learning more. But yes, I feel so confident that when you come to me, I will help you in a way that you've never experienced before. Whereas when I was first teaching, I was like, I hope this works. It works for me.
Yeah.
But now I've had amazing mentorship, and I can name a few of my mentors: Jim Hardy, who's Hall of Fame instructor; Mike Adams, Hall of Fame instructor. The whole tree that comes from all those great instructors that come from that tree. Hank Haney was my first boss, and he was a fabulous instructor. So I've just been exposed to so many. Early on, I was hired by Golf Digest, so I exposed to all those great Golf Digest instructors. Mike LeBove, in particular, just an amazing coach down in Arizona. So I've had the opportunity to be around so many bright people, and then just keep seeking information and going. And actually, in my day, you'd go and spend time with them. You wouldn't just look on the internet to see what they do. You wanted to learn how to coach, you went and sat on the range and watched them and asked questions afterwards and buy them lunch and ask them more questions. And just anytime you could ask questions and say, why'd you do that with that person? Why'd you do that with that person? I think the education is getting better. The PGA education, there's a lot of seminars you can go to. And as a young coach, I didn't have that back in the early 90s. One of the things I did was we did have the PGA Coaching and Teaching Summit that would happen every couple of years. And what the PGA did was they recorded all of them. And they had a library of VHS tapes back then of all the past presentations. And so It was a big chunk of money for me at the time, but I ordered the whole set and I just started watching all these coaches, right? So if I couldn't visit them, I wanted to watch them. Some of them were already retired. So I invested in that, and that was a great education. But the best education is to get some mentorship from amazing people who have done it and done it at a high level. And then you get better every lesson you teach. You start to understand how to, I'm sure, Preston, with your, the personalities that you have, understanding how to deal with different personalities, understanding how to communicate and when to change your, tack to a different direction based on the fact that this isn't resonating with somebody. I need to go somewhere else, and not be afraid to do that. Whereas as a younger coach, you may be like, well, this is the way it is. And the person's got this glazed eye look, and you're like, but this is what it is. It's like, no, you got to explain it a different way.
There's as many ways to do therapy with people as there are people.
There you go.
What do you love about teaching this game?
Oh, the smile on people's faces when it clicks. That's the shot of dopamine that's just incredible. I mean, I love meeting new people. I love solving puzzles because everybody's different. And it's like, how am I going to get this person to be the best they can be? So it's I always love when I look at my schedule and I say, ooh, there's a new person here. Cool. I get to look at a new puzzle and figure it out and help them navigate it and see what makes them tick. And I'm going to blow them away, and they're going to have the biggest smile on their face. So that's just it's a rush for me. Somebody asked me the other day, well, what's retirement look like for you? I said, I don't think I'm going to retire, because every time I see a swing, I want to go help it. So it's like that is just in me. And I feel like for me, helping somebody else be the best player it can be is so satisfying that I can't imagine not doing it. And I kind of look back at some things that I've learned about my own game, because right now I feel like I'm the best version of myself as far as the swinger of the golf club that I wish I would have known back in the day. But if I did, I think I would have probably had a longer career as a player, and I wouldn't have had this opportunity to be a coach. And so I think there was kind of a plan for me, because this is really where I belong. And I just, like I was saying earlier, that smile, that joy. And I found early on when I was teaching that my expectations for a player wasn't necessarily their expectations. So I really like to know where somebody's at and what they're interested. Like, why are you here? Like, I want to know why you're here. What are you after? I want to hit it better, or I want to score better, or I want to be with my friends. I don't want to embarrass myself. Everybody's got kind of a goal of what they want to do. And so I make sure I meet that, because it's not about me. It's about getting them to where they want to be. So I learned that early on. Like, I remember seeing this one person came and took a lesson from me with the least amount of athletic ability possibly ever that I've ever seen. I'm like, why is this person trying to play this really challenging game? They could have so much more fun playing bridge or going on a hike or something. And then she hit this ball that went like 40 yards, and it went in the air, and the look on her face of just pure joy. I'm like, okay, that's why. And it's not my game, it's her game. And she got that thing airborne, and it was the coolest thing in the world for her. I'm like, okay, my expectations are not important here. It's all about what that person wants.
Yeah.
And so it feels, one of the things I didn't like about being a professional golfer, which I think to a certain extent you have to have as a professional player, is you got to be pretty selfish. It's your schedule, it's your practice schedule, it's got to revolve around you, because it's so competitive that if it doesn't, you're probably leaving the opportunity to be the best player you can be on the table. And at this point, it's so competitive out there that to a certain extent, it has to be about you. And one thing I didn't like is like, okay, it was all about me. And if I didn't produce, I felt crappy. It was hard for me. I don't have those days teaching. I mean, everybody has crappy days, but I don't have those days. When I'm teaching, I come home happy. I come home satisfied. I come home feeling like I did my part and I made somebody's day. I remember one person came and said, why'd you come in today? I said, I thought I'd treat myself to a golf lesson. And that's what it is, right? I love taking golf lessons myself. I was just in Arizona at my son's soccer tournament. I had a few hours on my time, and I went and spent some time with Parker, the short game chef.
Yeah.
And it was like, our 2 hours were over. I'm like, oh, God, could be here all day with him, hanging out, hitting shots and talking golf. It's so fun to be the student as well, just learning. And as a coach, I'm learning nonstop. I've been doing this for 31 years. I still, I see something and I'm like, okay, that can make me a better coach. I want it. Whether it's a training aid, whether it's a person who's got some wisdom that I want to absorb, I just can't get enough of it. And I haven't stopped learning. I think that's one of the coolest things about being a coach is that you're also a student, you're also learning all the time. And then the fact that I then get to share it with my students is pretty cool. I've like got goosebumps just talking about it. Like when I can just say, hey, you know what, there's this really cool thing I learned the other day. Why don't you try this? And all of a sudden it works for them. It's like, oh, that's so cool.
For the listeners, I can see the light dancing in Josh's eyes as he's describing
Twinkling,
all
yes.
this. Yes.
I feel so lucky that I get to do it, that it's like, I can't believe you're paying me to do this, because I'm just like, this is really cool.
Why would you ever retire from a job like that, right?
You've probably heard of Jim Flick, a fabulous teacher, and he, such a great soul, such a giving person, just whether you agreed with what he taught or not. I mean, I thought he was a fabulous teacher, just a very good coach. And he said, I'll be doing this till they put me in the big divot in the ground. And I think that may be where I'm headed to.
Yeah.
When I was 13, I went to a golf camp that he was the lead
cool.
instructor for. So I've got a video somewhere
Nice.
of him. It was incredible.
Yeah, everybody who he crossed paths with had something good to say about him. He's like, that's the kind of person you want to be. You want to be somebody, well, you could disagree on like, you want to talk about, does the dog wag the tail? Does the tail wag the dog? For those of you who may don't know that reference, is it more body oriented to swing the golf club? Is it more arms and hands? He was more of an arms and hands guy. Other guys were more body guys. It's all of it, and you can learn from all of it, and there's wisdom in all of it. And then you got to figure out what works for you. And my job as a coach, I tell people, it's like, we're going to climb Mount Everest. I'm going to be your Sherpa. I'm going to make sure you're safe. I'm going to make sure you're on your path, and I'm going to make sure that it's the path that suits you the best, because I'm going to make sure I do my research on you to make sure that you are doing what you need to do to be the best player you can be. And so I'm like your guide, and you're going to have some ups and downs, but I'm going to make sure you're staying on path. And there's so much information now everywhere, and accessible information, that people are so confused now trying to become better golfers because they don't know necessarily what works for them.
Yeah, it's too much. Yeah.
It's too much. And I'm not going to say that the information is wrong. It's just that the information, what we call it magic and tragic. What's magic for one person is tragic for another. So why does John Rahm bow his wrist? Well, it's because I can go into why, but there's a reason why it works for him. And if you asked, Oberg to bow his wrist, you'd ruin him. It's not for everybody. So you need to know what that is. And the easiest shortcut is to come and see me, because then you don't have to worry about it, because I'm going to tell you why it is for you.
So are you aware that I'm a psychotherapist?
No.
So I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist.
Yeah,
and
okay.
so I've been doing therapy with clients for the last 15 years or 16 years. And the way that I describe the work that I'm going to embark on with a client is pretty similar to the Sherpa analogy that you use. I say, a little different, but it's like, hey, we're going to travel down this freeway and you're going to drive the bus and I'm going to sit next to you and I'm going to suggest from time to time, like, hey, we might want to take this off ramp. We might want to go down this road a little ways and kind of see what's down there. Anyways, you just struck me with that description of what you do.
Yeah.
Very similar.
I know you work a lot with players of all levels and ages. How do you tailor your approach to those different levels?
Yeah, well, first I want to understand where they want to go with it. And some juniors are like, this is what I want to do. I want to be a professional golfer, and then help them understand what that takes. It all boils down to being a really good communicator, being able to help them understand what it's going to take, being able to help them understand the steps to get there. Technique is one of the things. Then you might have that person who's like, an older person who just wants to take up golf because they're retiring and they just want to spend more time with their spouse, or they want to spend more time with their friends and they want to have that as a recreation, and they have a bad hip and a bad elbow, and you got to be able to navigate that, right? So it's a whole package. So like the interview process at the beginning is really important to help me understand where they want to go, and then I can see where they can possibly go, and then communicate along the way to make sure that they're getting what they want out of it. So I want to be able to meet their expectations. And sometimes they have unrealistic expectations, and I'm not afraid to say, hey, you know what? This is a little bit far-fetched, but I'm not saying don't strive towards it, right? Like some guy who's a 2 handicapper is like, I want to win the U.S. Amateur in 3 years. I'm like, okay. And he's 47 years old and has a day job. Right. It's like, okay, well, let me just tell you.
Let me just cross a couple of notes off my spreadsheet here.
Let me tell you what it's going to take. you know, and who you're up against.
Yeah.
Right? It's not realistic. And we can have that conversation. I remember I had a guy who came to me. He was a world-class sprinter from Canada, and he was doing a course at Stanford. And he comes out and he's like, yeah, I'm a really good athlete. I want to be a professional golfer. That's what I want to do. I'm like, how old are you? I'm like 35. I'm like, huh, interesting. Let me watch you hit some balls. And he could hit it far. He couldn't hit it straight. He had no short game. It's just like, all right, now you have the one thing that every professional golfer needs, and that is adequate distance, because you have speed. Okay, now let's talk about all the other skills that thousands and thousands and thousands of kids have been doing since they were 6 that you're 25 years behind on. And let's talk about whether pursuing a career in professional golf is really appropriate. Now, if you don't need money and you have time and you're okay going through the process, see, I think that ultimately we live the process, right? So goals are goals. One of the best quotes I ever heard was from my headmaster of my boarding school, who said, it's not as important to achieve the goal as it is to strive towards it.
I like that.
Yep. So, because you're living the process every day.
Right.
So the other day I was out, got to work a little bit early, had about half an hour, and I was working on my putting. And it just sort of dawned on me as I was working on it, because I work with a really great putting coach on my own putting and with my students. His name is Bruce Rierick. You guys should interview him at some point. What a fabulous, fabulous guy who used to work for Arnold Palmer. He's got stories. You guys would love it. I was just practicing some stuff that Bruce told me, and I'm like, this is what it's all about. It's not whether all of a sudden I make a bunch of putts on Saturday. I'm loving getting better at what I just did, and this is it. This is the gold. And if you can't appreciate that, you're probably doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
Right? And so we kind of get caught up in score and winning a tournament and a member guest or blah, blah. It's like, yeah, but you're at the range and you're working on something, and like, oh, it's really cool if I do this. Look what happens to the ball, and that's it. That's okay. So let's say you do win the tournament. Okay, second later, that's over. Now what?
Yeah.
Right. It's like it's just enjoying that process, and I try to. I'm preparing one of my students. I don't want to mention his name, but very accomplished athlete who has won at the highest level in his sport and is about to play in the AT&T, and he's all nervous. He's like, yeah, we've been working on this for 3 months. Josh, and his AT&T's coming up a couple weeks. And he's got this really fast-paced voice. And I'm like, the AT&T is just one tournament that's happening, and then that'll be over, and we're just trying to get better every day, and we're just going to continue working on this process. Oh, the AT&T happens to be in a couple weeks. Okay. And then we'll keep working on what we're working on, and let's enjoy the process, because he's made a huge improvement in his game. What I don't want is for him to have this huge expectation and then get in his own way.
Right.
Right? He played a sport where you had no time to think.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, yeah, that was probably the only sport I could play, because he's a very cerebral, bright guy. I'll tell you off the air who he is afterwards. But that's the thing. It's like, just enjoy the process of getting better every day.
Yeah.
Have a roadmap. So find somebody who's capable, who can coach you, and then enjoy the process of doing that. And that's it.
You know, I'm not here to talk about my journey through sobriety, but I've been sober for 25 years.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
And frequently somebody new comes into a fellowship that I happen to be a member of. We always talk about how if you focus on the efforts, the results will take care of themselves. And it's very much what you're describing.
Yeah. And sometimes those results don't happen.
Or they're different than what you set out to do or
Exactly.
thought they would be.
Could be. You ended up in a different place, and it ended up being even more magical.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Progress, not perfection.
That's another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can generalize an answer, but is there a common thing that you're seeing people maybe underemphasizing? So between mental stuff, technique, strength, speed.
I think you said it right away. You said the mental stuff.
Yeah.
We put all this effort into our technique, so much effort in the technique, and then we don't get to access it because we're not in the proper mental state. That's the shame of it, right? The mental stuff unlocked me as a player. I would not have played at the level that I played at if I hadn't met Chuck Hogan, who helped me with the mental side of the game. I can summarize what the mental stuff does is it gives you access to your ability. If you can't hit at 300, you can hit at 270. Being strong mentally is not going to help you hit at 300, but it can help you hit at 270 when you need to hit 270 down the middle. So if you can do it in practice somewhat regularly, you should be able to access it and be able to do it under the gun if you're in the proper mental state. And that takes practice, just like your chipping takes practice, and you're building those neurological pathways. And if you don't practice it, how many people say, you know, I'm going to take an hour and I'm going to work on my mind today?
Mm-hmm.
How many people do that?
Very few.
Very few. Yeah.
I might from time to time.
Yeah. So that you're unique, because if I asked my students, you know, I have a relationship with Rick Sussinghouse, who does the flow code. Another person you should interview, great guy. And he has been able to kind of give Zander Golf a mental training arm with a lot of exercises that you can do and train your mental game. It's not my expertise, but I'm 100% in favor of it, and I coach it as much as I can. That system gives you, and there's others out there as well, but happens to be the one that I'm with right now. It gives you tools, just like, hey, I've got some chipping drills for you to do. Well, he's got some mental training drills for you to do in there. And if you practice it, then there's a chance that it'll come out when it needs to come out, because it's something that you do on a regular basis. But the false sense of security is like, oh, I'm gonna be mentally strong when I need to be mentally strong. It doesn't happen that way.
Without giving away too much,
Yeah.
what's an example of a mental drill?
Box breathing.
Okay.
Okay. You know, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. Count your steps between the shots you hit. Instead of being upset about the fact that it didn't go where you did, you're just using an auditory cue to get you back to the present.
Mm-hmm.
So the focus is always, how do we, you hear great players talk about this, I've stayed in the present, right? I didn't get ahead of myself. I didn't worry about what happened in the past. The flow state, yeah. So you need to get to the present. The priority has to be to get to the present. So if you're upset about that 3-footer you missed for birdie after sticking a 4-iron to 3 feet, and then it messes with your next tee shot, you were not where you needed to be. Why did you just hook that tee shot and make double on the next hole when you know how to hit it well? You weren't in the proper state, right? So if you can get emotionally, mentally in the proper frame of mind to be able to access your skills on a more regular basis, 70% of the time instead of 40% of the time, that's a huge deal. So it's not even close. The answer to your question is people don't work on their brain, and as a result, they can't access the skills that they have acquired through practice and technique, working on their technique. Yeah.
This is kind of how I think about the game. You know, we had a very long conversation before you got here about improvement, or, you know, the value of lessons, the value of practice, all this kind of stuff. And we have not totally dissimilar, but there's a yin yang to our approach. And I'm kind of more like, here's what I got. Here's who I am. I'm going to go out and play. And sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not. And frequently, like, what I'll do when I'm on the course is just kind of to try to get more mindful. I know box breathing. I don't do it. I don't count the steps between shots, but
there's a million things you can do.
Yeah. And so, like, for me, I'll just be like, I'm just going to focus on what I'm looking at. I'm focusing on these trees. I'm listening to these birds. Like, I'm just kind of trying to ground myself in where I am.
That's great stuff, because those are all sensory things you're doing. And when you're sensory, you're present.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So whether you're visualizing something, whether you're listening, you're using your auditory sense by listening to the birds. So give you an example. You got a 4-foot putt. What's the best score you've ever shot? 69. Okay. So let's say you play the lake on Saturday and you got a 3-footer for 68. It's going to be the best score ever. It's going to be fun to talk about in the clubhouse.
Right.
You're
Hard not to think about that.
Hard not to think about that. Okay. So you have a 3-footer, 68. So you're thinking, okay, 68 if I make it, right? I use this analogy. You got waves coming in off the ocean. They're constantly coming in. These are your thoughts coming in your mind, Are they helpful? If they're helpful, be like a surfer, ride that wave. If it's not helpful, let it go and get the thought that's going to help you. So if you're like, okay, if I shoot 68, then, you know, it'll be the best score ever and it'll be cool to talk about it. Okay. Well, it's like, okay, let's let that thought cycle through. Now let's get to the present. What would a great putt look like here? How's it going to go in? Is it going to trickle in the front? Can you visualize like a little highway stripe going to the hole? Or you could be like, oh, I want to be auditory. I'm going to listen for the perfect contact of the sweet spot against the ball. Or I'm going to bang it against that piece of dirt on the back of the cup. Now all of a sudden you're present. You're like a little kid playing, right? It's a very different mindset than like, God, I really want to make this putt. Because if I do, I'll shoot 68 and then it'll be my best score ever. And I could put the card up in my cool room you have here with all this paraphernalia. Like, I could frame it, put it in here. Now, all that BS that's going to get in the way of a 3-foot stroke, which might be, if you think about it, the easiest motion in the history of sports is to make a 3-footer,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I'm gesturing right now. My hand is going back about 2 inches and through about 2 inches.
Yeah.
And if it's downhill, side hill, it might only be 1 inch, right? So that's how easy the motion is. But boy, do we mess it up because we're worried about the result. That's what I mean about not accessing your skills. But if you work on your mental skills, you can say, oh, that's not helping me. Let me back off. I'm going to do a box breath, and I'm going to feel like this is a downhill putt. I'm going to feel like there's a pillow on my club face. It's going to come off so soft and hit the putt.
That's definitely something I've tried to incorporate. I've read quite a bit about it in the last couple of years, and I think one of the common things that I feel is that's great. You can't take 5 minutes to let these feelings cycle through. It's your turn to putt. And you're like, okay, I know I'm supposed to think about this, but then there's that voice. It's for 68. It's for 68.
Yeah.
And one of the books I read, I can't remember what it was. Basically, it was like that's inevitable, right? There's all this noise, and if you practice, eventually you can drown that out, right?
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to your point, which is like you got to practice that.
I'll give you an example.
Because you can't just think to yourself, don't think 68. As soon as you say
100%.
think that,
You got to practice it, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I learned I went to see Dave Pelz in 1992, and he helped me with my rhythm and my putting. He gave me this little metronome, and I'm 72 beats a minute when I putt. And so I literally count in my head when I putt. So I'm very auditory. So US Open 1992, I'm on the 11th hole, and I hit a chip shot that goes 4 feet past the hole. Now the pin's in the back right. For those of you who have played Pebble Beach, that green back to front is so severe, and then you put it in US Open conditions. If I miss this little 3-4 footer going down the hill, I'm chipping from about 30 yards for my next shot, and I'm struggling to make the cut. And I get up over the ball, and I'm like, boy, if I miss this, I'm in big trouble. I got to make this putt. And I backed off. And I had a little conversation with myself. I said, I'll live with myself if I just go through my counting, and if it doesn't go in, it doesn't go in, but I'm going to just count, because that's the only way I could have survived that moment. And it happened to go in. It didn't go in the middle. It happened to go in, but I just counted. But I had practiced that over and over. That metronome has been in my head since 1992. What are we here? How many years later? I literally still have that beep in my head. And that's how I putt. My distance control is amazing because I'm literally a human metronome, but that has been practiced, right? So like you said, I agree. You got to practice it so you could drown out that stuff. But I had the awareness at the time to realize that was not the state to putt that ball in. And I don't think I've ever felt more pressure in my life than that putt, because not only was I trying to make the cut, but it's embarrassing
right
in front of all those people to hit a putt that goes, literally there was nothing stopping it other than the hole. So like anything, if it's going to come out under the most pressure, it's got to be practiced. And that still doesn't mean you're going to pull it off, but at least you can live with yourself that you went through the process, and that's all you can do.
I don't know how you played in that US Open. How did you play?
75, 76, missed cut by 4.
Okay.
I was in the hunt until I was like 1 over through like 26 holes. And then we were on the second shot on 8, the famous, what Nicholas calls the best second shot in golf. And there was like a 20-minute delay. And during that delay, I decided to look at the leaderboard, and there was a guy named Dr. Gil Morgan, who was the first player in the history of the US Open to get to double digits under par. And I thought, ooh, I'm 1 over. He's 10 under. I got to be within 10 shots to make this cut, because I had this thing in my head like I need to be within 10 because everybody within 10 makes the cut. And so here I am on 8, 9, and 10, the hardest stretch at Pebble, thinking I've got to start making birdies. And I got totally out of my thing, and I played poorly on the back. I was 2 under for the day through 7. And then I just started making some stupid decisions, and I shot like 40 on the back or 41 on the back, and that was it for me. And I was down, and I would have made the cut if I would have shot like 1 over from then on out. It would have been just my normal thing. It wasn't anything I couldn't do. But I was a rookie error, so I figured I'll get him next major. Well, there never was a next major. I thought it was funny, like in the program, it said, Josh Zander, first major. I'm like, yeah, that was it. But at least I had that experience, and it was something that I can draw upon to help me with the players now, which just makes me that much better of a coach. So it's an experience that I'll never forget, and it was super fun. It was a magical week, and it was great.
You seem very well set up now to be the kind of guy that can let that go. Do
Yeah.
you agree with that?
I personally don't think that the life of a gypsy traveling touring professional was really what I wanted. I have this amazing family, beautiful, wonderful wife, 2 kids, and I don't think that would have happened if I was just chasing that ball over the world. I
Yeah.
don't think I would have had that opportunity. So I think, like, again, there was somebody looking after me, you know.
Yeah. Brings to mind, gratitude
Yeah, 100%.
for me. And is that something that you bring into your
That's
your golf
huge.
lessons?
I've got it posted on my computer in my office at home that says the word gratitude, because that's such a great way to approach every day. Just be, we're healthy. Here we are. Between the three of us, there's at least 150 years of experience in here. So yeah. So the fact that we're able to go out and play golf at Olympic Club or wherever for that matter, and just experience the camaraderie, the friendship, the challenge. It's just like, that's something to be incredibly grateful for. So gratitude is also a great way to approach your round of golf. I'll listen to some flow code stuff on the way to the golf course, and one of the things is like, just be grateful for the fact you get to play today.
Yeah.
I love what you guys are doing. I think you guys are bringing the real heart of golf to your listenership, because it is about having fun with your friends and getting out and getting away from the other challenges in life and the screens and all the things that are kind of causing a lot of problems these days, and just being out with nature and having a good time. I know, Preston, you like to have your little speaker on your bag and listen to some tunes along the way, and whether you're shooting 72 or 82, you're still going to have a good day, And I think that's a good, to be grateful. And whether you're shooting 82 or 72 or whatever your level is, it's the fact that you are able to go and have fun with your buddies and whoever it is, your spouse, your kids. It's just what it's really all about. And the score is the score, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure my partner is the same way too. My podcast partner and my Armageddon partner over here, I think he feels the same way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, pretty much every time we're walking down the first fairway, and the first fairway in particular is kind of picturesque. It's like, how awesome is this? Let's enjoy this.
I tell people frequently that I still, however many years later, now I guess 16 that I've been a member there, I still get the same kind of giddy feeling when I step onto the first tee, where it's just like, oh my God, how lucky are we that we get to play this course as often as we do.
But to your point, really, it's any golf course for that matter.
Yeah.
It's like, how lucky are we in this moment to be doing this right now?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that kind of answers, I think, one of the other questions we were going to ask you, which was, does this idea of the soul of the game resonate with you? And it sounds like it resonates very clearly.
It does. And I'm still personally working on that kind of gratitude, because as somebody who's played at a fairly high level, I have, whether I like it or not, I have these expectations. And I obviously don't always meet them. And since I have a day job, it's hard to put as much time into my game as I'd like to be able to play at the level that I'd like. But I'm still trying to practice as much as I can, because I just love the process of it. And yes, I do like shooting a good score. Like the other day, I went out and shot a couple under at Cal Club, and could have been better, and it was super fun to do that. But I also know that I need to be able to shoot a 77 and still be a happy guy. And I'm working on that. Like you were saying earlier, being a perfectionist is not the best way to be in golf in general.
Yeah.
So I definitely have gotten better through the years of being able to put it aside, but it's definitely still irks me when I don't play to the potential that I feel like I can play at. And that's something I need to work on. So
I can relate to both of those
I think,
statements.
I think that, that we all can, right? I mean, I think everybody, they have an idea of what they're capable of. And sometimes they meet that expectation. And we can have a longer conversation about the value of expectations. I personally don't think that they're as useful. But
I agree with that.
We all have to struggle with the round where we don't play up to what we'd like to be able to do. And then the flip side of that is that sometimes we play a little bit better than we think that we can, or that we, might be able to do. You were asking about my best round, and it's in that scorecard that's on the wall right there.
There you go.
We were talking about it a minute ago. And I shot a 31 on the front, by far the best 9 holes of golf I've ever played.
On the lake?
No, this is our place down in Arizona.
Okay.
Which I'd love to have you down
Yeah.
to visit sometime. And, my only thought after shooting that 31, because I'd never broken 70 before, which was like, all I got to do is shoot 2 over on the back. And guess what I did? I shot 2 over on the back. But we play this very frustrating game, and sometimes we hit the ball poorly, and sometimes we get a bad bounce. And that's life, right? I mean, I think one of the reasons that we started talking about the soul of golf in here is because there's a lot of parallels that you can draw with other things in life. And I just think that there's so much in the game beyond just our score that we love about it, which led us to be sitting here talking to you. So.
No, I love it. I'm a fan. I'll be a listener, and I wish you both the best. And I'm happy to anytime you want to pick my brain about anything. Let's do it.
We appreciate that.
Definitely. Maybe one last question from me. If you were your own teacher, what would your advice to yourself be?
Spend more time practicing the mental game. As much as I think about it, I can't say that I set aside time during my day. Like already this morning, I did my training and I did my golf training. I did like a yoga workout, I did a golf workout, but I didn't do anything mental. It wasn't even on my schedule. But I do listen to flow code stuff on my commute, which is significant amount of time in my car driving from San Francisco to Stanford.
And sorry, what is flow code?
Flow code is a mental training system.
Okay.
Yeah, a golf mental training system.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That Colin Markowi's coach, Rick Sessinghouse, it's his company.
Okay.
They do a great job of giving you tangible things to work on mentally. I would say if somebody said to me, okay, Josh, I want you to be the best golfer you could possibly be at this time next year. What's the one thing you could do better? Set aside more time to work on my mental game.
Well, how can people find you if they want to?
Website.
Why wouldn't they want to?
Well, you got to find a coach that works for you. So they can always find me on my website, which is just my last name, zandergolf.com. I'm on Instagram. I have a following there. You can see me on my YouTube channel. Why would they want to find me? If you come and take a lesson from me.
I said, why wouldn't they?
Why wouldn't they? Why
Based on everything I've heard today.
Especially after today.
Yes.
Yeah. Why wouldn't they?
I can't think of a reason either.
They should. They should. And I'd love to have you bring me your puzzle, and I will help you solve it, and we can have a good time together. And like I tell a lot of my students, it's a privilege to be on the journey with you to be the best player you could be, or whatever your goal happens to be. And it's super fun for me, and I look forward to the opportunity should they give it to me.
Awesome. This is incredible. Thank you, Josh. We appreciate your time. We look forward to playing with you more.
Me as well. Yeah, I really enjoyed talking to you guys, and good luck with this podcast. And I think it'll bring a lot of joy to a lot of people.
I'm excited because next week we are going to bring to Weekday Golf questions from the people.
Lots of great questions from people who are not our wives and family.
Some friends even listen to the show and they want to hear us talk about what they think we should talk about, and we're going to do that.
I'll feel like we've made it big when we get a first question from an actual stranger. But until then, listen in.
Weekday Golf is produced by Armageddon Partners, LLC. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter/X. Let us know what you want to hear about at weekdaygolfpodcast@gmail.com.